I want to, at this time, take occasion to tell you how very happy and privileged I feel to be able to be present at this rally and at the dinner last night. And I thank my good Father in heaven that my wife and I have lived so long that we were able to attend such an occasion. We have been so happy to participate in the program and to mingle with the high grade and class of people who have been in attendance. And at that first Congress of Freedom, which Mr. Montgomery, which George so kindly remembered, we found the same class of people. And through the years, that same class of people have persisted. And we feel that nowhere in the United States will you find finer people with higher ideals and attend the Congresses of Freedom and whom I have seen present here at this meeting. And you may rest assured that we would be very happy to welcome every one of you into the Congress of Freedom. Next year we hope to meet in Milwaukee, and I hope many of you will be able to attend. Now, I come from Nebraska. You know, when they had that first Congress of Freedom, I was more or less, despite all the fine words that George has said, I was more or less the water boy. But I did go out to the airport with my car, and I welcomed several New Yorkers who arrived. And there, for the first time, I met George and Archibald Roosevelt, and another one whom you may not all know, a fellow by the name of Myron Fagan from Los Angeles. And I still remember what Myron said. He said, no, I'm not joining the Congress of Freedom, I'm just here to observe. But he must have found some pretty good indications of what the movement was, because he went back, I believe, to expose all of the communists in Hollywood. And at that first Congress of Freedom, the resolution was to get out of the United Nations and get the United Nations out of the United States. And at that first Congress of Freedom, one of the resolutions was that we should repeal the income tax. And from those two first basic principles, the Congress of Freedom has gone on through the years without deviation, and today stands squarely upon all of those conservative principles which were first enunciated and have later been added to over the years. I do come from Nebraska, and when people read on my announcement here that I'm from Omaha, my, what a long distance you have come to this meeting. But if I had on there Los Angeles or San Francisco, well, it's so nice to have you, but there would be no idea in their mind that it was a long ways off. Well, it is 1,500 miles, and Nebraska is quite a state, getting better every year. But out in Nebraska, there are a number of people who like to grow a nice lawn, and I can remember all my life how privileged it was to have a good bluegrass lawn. But we have there several obstacles to the growing of a lawn, and that is dandelions with their nice yellow blossoms, and violets with their purple blue blossoms. And then we have something which I saw only this morning over in the Boston Gardens, that wonderful thrifty plantain weed with its wide tobacco leaves. And then we have what they call crabgrass or Johnson grass, which inserts a blade of grass up, or a weed up between every blade of grass. These are persistent weeds, and if they are not cared for and eradicated and dug out, very shortly they will take over your lawn. Likewise, in our political climate in the United States, there are many who would like to keep it clean, fresh, and bright. But there, too, we are faced with persistent weeds. The situation is, however, that most of the weeds in this political climate stem from one main root. And if we could ever get rid of that main root, probably we would get rid of the rest of them. That main root is known as the Council on Foreign Relations. That group which is the main root, the main stem from which these other branches sprout. It is the father, we will say, of the income tax. It is also the Federal Reserve System sprouts from that main root. The income tax that confiscates our income. The Federal Reserve, which controls the finances and the credit of the United States. I agree with you. And then we have the control of these great, fabulous tax-free foundations who funnel their tax-free funds into several universities from which the young men are trained in the socialistic program of this council. And they go on to Washington to head the various bureaus and departments of government. This pest, I hesitate to label it for what it is, but this pest, we will say, is today carrying on its nefarious and constant effort to destroy this country. This very hour, they are at work in San Francisco and over the country endeavoring to frustrate the will of the American people as demonstrated by free elections and free primaries, to again bring forth a candidate who represents the will of the American people. And instead they are striving and working to bring forth, instead of a Barry Goldwater, a Scranton or a Lodge or some person whom we do not know. Make no mistake, this vicious, destructive weed has taken over the United States. And you do not have to take my word for it. I just picked up a little leaflet on the John Birch booth, from the booth in there, and they say the same thing. They control our courts, they control Congress, the defense, and the United Nations, which is the future government of this United States. That is their plan. This is a pernicious, vicious weed, and these other branches are equally as dangerous. And so you have come to this rally, if you do not know it already, to find out about these things. And then from what you learn here and learn at other similar groups, you must, if our country is to survive, and we are struggling to preserve a wonderful form of government, you must know who your candidates are, what they stand for, whether they agree with what you believe in, and then vote in November, according to your convictions. I will not say anything further. I wish that I had the opportunity, the time to go on further, but we have other speakers, and their time is short. Friends, what should we do at a time like this? When a great man pauses or dies, we pause with a moment in respect. But don't you think that in our hearts and that in our minds, that we ought to all bow our heads and pray for the people of our country and for the United States? What else is going to save us but God?